Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast, West Denver. Here's a quick message from our sponsor, Local Works Wheat Ridge, provided by its Executive Director, Paige Piper.
Local Works is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to make Wheat Ridge a more vibrant and sustainable place to live and work. Our mission and action is programming that provides neighborhood revitalization and small business support, keeping and growing the businesses we know and love in Wheat Ridge. In simpler form, we provide connection. Connection to business, connection to community.
This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Meg Smith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Good Neighbor Podcast, West Denver. Today, I'm here with Marty Richardson from the DAWG Nation Hockey Foundation. How are you, Marty?
I am good. Thanks for having me, Meg.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, spending a little time with us today. We really appreciate that. So tell our listeners all about DAWG Nation Hockey Foundation.
All righty. Well, DAWG Nation Hockey Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit, and it's really designed to help hockey families in need. And it sounds like a really small little niche group, but it's not. We started back in 2011 as a way to help a teammate in need, where we had a beer league hockey team that had 15 players on it. And in a 9-day period back in 2009, not one, not two, but 3 of those players all were diagnosed with some sort of cancer. And each time I would literally and figuratively pass my hat around the room, and we would go see Danny or Dave or Andy in the hospital. And it wasn't that we gave them $200. It was that they had people that had their back. And we watched those guys all, with varying degrees of ability as they were going through their chemo and radiation stuff, still stay in the lineup. And we didn't win many games that year, but we had our buddies by our side. And unbelievably, that same year in 2009, a fourth guy on the team got sick, and we thought it was cancer again, but it turned out it was an autoimmune disease. And his name was Jack Kelly. And 6 months later, he passed. And when he passed, I gathered his 3 daughters together, and I have 3 daughters myself. And Jack was also I was a college soccer player. I was a college soccer player. And we had really almost mirrored lives, Jack and I. And I saw that, like, kind of have everything. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And Jack passed in April of 2010. And when he did, I told those girls, I want to do something in your dad's honor. I don't know what it is, but want to do something. And that kind of started the gears rolling to come up with this foundation to help people like Andy and Dave and Danny and Jack and those families. And so we started this thing called DAWG Nation Hockey Foundation, which was the name of our beer league hockey team, was the Dogs. And always originally thought this might make 10 to 20 grand a year, and we'd be able to help a couple families and do some neat stuff along the way. And we've now given away over $4.5 million to families in need.
Wow. Oh, that is so amazing. And it really does sound like you were like pulled or pushed in this direction, right? With all really of those connections and just, people you cared about. So that is, I mean, the universe is in play, right?
For sure. And it was, we call it in DAWG Nation world, we call it no coincidences. And
no coincidence. Absolutely.
We have some of our merch is actually logoed that way because it's really how my life works. All these different pieces and parts always come together, and they really constantly do. And we're able to do a lot more than just money. For instance, last week was Hockey Fights Cancer Night for the Avalanche, the NHL. Every team does one.
Okay.
And UC Health, since that's what a lot they do, they host the one here in Colorado, and they had 6 people on the ice with varying degrees of some finished their battle, some right in their midst, and they like them all to be hockey players because they're tied into that, and reached out to me, and 4 of the 6 were DAWG Nation people.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. That's amazing.
Anyway, so that's what it is.
Nice. So I know that there's a lot of opportunities to give out there, and Colorado Gives Day is coming up. So you probably have a nice, little announcement about that. I was hoping you would share.
Yeah. So we actually have a lot of fun on that day. Michael and Suzanne Shaw. A lot of people know that name as Mike Shaw Subaru. They're dear friends of mine, and they have a production company, and they actually offer that up every year. And we do almost like a telethon right in the Shaw's living room, and so we're on every hour, and we'll bring on Avalanche players and coaches and recipients throughout the day, and where people can kind of tell their stories, and we're able to raise a lot of money. And last year, Colorado Dibs was a record for us, and we hope to break it this year. But we were able to bring in $120,000 on that day last year, and so
that's fantastic.
But yeah, we do have a lot of fun with it too, because we'll do some contests during that day, and we're on every hour and all day long. We do that on a Facebook Live.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say what channel, how can people follow? So tell us the handle. Is it DAWG Nation, or what's the Facebook?
You have to kind of put the whole thing in, because otherwise you go to the Georgia Bulldogs. But it's DAWG Nation Hockey Foundation.
Perfect.
And so when you put that on Facebook is where most of our content sits, but we do have Instagram and Twitter and so on and so forth. But most of our content is either on our webpage, which is DAWGNation.org. That's easy. That one actually just has DAWGNation.org, and then or the Facebook page, which is DAWG Nation Hockey Foundation.
Okay. So, awesome. Yay. Well, how else do you get involved in the community? Obviously, there's a lot of opportunities to partner with the Avalanche and local businesses and things like that, but share some of the other ways you guys get involved. So
we have a lot of events, and that's where we generate our revenue. And we started back when in 2011, where literally was my goalie, my right defenseman, my left wing sitting around my kitchen table, and none of us had ever done this before. We all had regular jobs, and all threw $100 in the middle of the table, and they looked at me as a CPA and said, figure out how to make a 501c3, and 8 hockey players drinking beer. What could possibly go wrong? Right. So it's like, so we ended up making this 501c3 that way. But our very first event was what we call the Dog Bowl, kind of play on words. And it's I kind of go back up on all this stuff. It's DAWG. So we don't know how to spell either, but DAWGNation.org on all of that stuff is the DAWG, and same with our website and all that. But anyway, we started the first tournament, and that was to raise money for these our own guys and some couple other folks, and we called it the Dog Bowl, kind of a play on words, and had a cool trophy made by 2 recipients, 2 guys that had survived cancer, and we still use that trophy today. But that's in June every year, and that's a really cool thing to come out to. It's probably the biggest adult hockey tournament, one of the biggest in the United States. NHL players play in it. The U.S. Paralympic gold medal players play in it.
Wow.
Blind hockey's players play in it. Special Olympic players in it. And so we that's a really special event that happens every June at the Edge Ice Arena in Littleton. In addition to that, we do a golf tournament in September. We do we also have a comedy night that's really fun. That's going to be this year on March 20th at Comedy Works DTC. And then we have a lot of one-off smaller tournaments throughout the year, all year long. So during a course of a year, we'll following on our through our social media channels and stuff, we'll probably have upwards of 15 to 20 events a year. So they're quite often. And that's where the revenue is generating. And we're really blessed to every one of our events sells out.
That's amazing. Well, your heart is in the right place, and that energy comes through, and brings people in. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's what we do. And but yeah, all of those are open to the public, and our big events. The biggest one is the Dog Bowl hockey tournament. It's a 5-day hockey tournament, but it's all free to come to, and has live bands at it and different things like that, but literally has NHL players playing in the top division.
That's amazing. So I know most people are going to listen to this versus see the video, but my jaw dropped when you said blind hockey players. Yeah. So tell me a little bit, just out of curiosity, more about that. So they're literally blind, and they're just skating using all the other senses.
Yeah, so they're visually impaired. So
Okay.
and so what we have on that is these guys are this is the US national team players, and they use a puck, and Nick's in the office here. If you can just run over there and grab a puck off of there, they actually use I'll show you this puck on the screen here, and the people that are just listening, they're going to be able to hear this as well. But this is a puck that rattles. So it's about 4 times as big as a regular puck, and it's made of metal, so it hurts when you get hit by this thing. But you just leave it there. And so we in the end of the day, these guys, they got all different types of visual impairment. But here's the crazy part: the one player that has to be 100% blind and can't see on each team is the goalie. Isn't that funny?
Oh my goodness!
And so and what we do is we bring them in, and then we take sighted players and we wear these glasses that emulate cataracts or different types of visual impairments, and then we play against them.
Okay. Wow.
And we get creamed usually, but it's and so it's really a humbling experience to go do that and play with these guys. And because that's how they live their life every day. And then we kind of step into it and try and do it. And last year, what we did is we kind of mixed the teams up. And so some of us had the visually impaired U.S. national team players and some of us, and vice versa. And so really kind of a cool way to kind of put yourself not in their shoes, in their skates, so to speak. So,
that's really good.
Yeah, kind of cool. And then what we ended up having the goalie was one of our younger guys that skates with us, and we completely blindfolded him, and so he couldn't see anything. And
my God, what was his experience? He was probably just like,
yeah, it was pretty. So you have to your sense of sound is wildly heightened when you do that, obviously.
Yeah. And then you're not used to skating without your sight, right?
Yeah, so it was difficult. The glasses that I wore, I tried different ones and throughout the game, and the ones that were the hardest were the ones where you were already like it was kind of blurry, but you had no peripheral vision.
Yeah,
and that was really hard because you'd make a hockey move and the puck would be to my left and I couldn't see it.
Yeah. Oh,
I only could see it if it was right in front of me, and or you'd have to turn your head completely, and then you have no comprehension of what's on the other side of you.
Right.
So it was definitely had a couple collisions, but it was a really cool experience. And what I do and the other stuff we work with is sled hockey players, which are a lot of those are military, but they're players that don't have use of their legs. So they sit in the sled and they propel themselves with 2 sticks with spikes on the end. And what I do with those guys is some of these guys are phenomenal players. And we have some of the best players. We do have the best players in the world living right here in Colorado, right in your area, actually. And and the vast majority of the U.S. national team, who's won 5 straight gold medals, by the way, all the way back to 2008, they'll play on my team in a regular league. So kind of showing that there's really no barriers.
Yeah,
really important for us.
That's amazing. I'm so gonna follow you and have to maybe come to the tournament. I mean, that's fantastic. So we like to get to know our guests personally as well as professionally, but you also have a separate profession. So maybe share a little bit about, what you do for fun, what you do for work when you're not supporting DAWG Nation.
Yeah. So I do a lot of stuff. So my background was actually, I was a college soccer player at Metro State and still very active down there and working with the athletic director and some of the things down there. But I always loved hockey. Hockey was kind of my favorite sport, but it was out of my family's price tag range. So, and I was a pretty decent soccer player, enough to play college soccer and get my school paid for that way. But I wasn't, always loved hockey, and I would just play pond hockey. And I went on to like a little bit of a semi-pro and long, like adult career in some of the top divisions in Colorado. But mid-30s, it was getting pretty tough to play with those faster young guys. And I started playing both hockey and soccer competitively at that point, or not semi-competitively, I guess. And that was when we started DAWG Hockey. And so started from that. And at that during that time period, I was a international finance director for a little software company called Oracle. And
never heard of that.
I did that for 25 years or so. And and on the side, because that wasn't enough for me, I had about 200 tax clients as a CPA as a side business. And then I also coached competitive soccer. So I had a few things going. And so back about 6 years ago, my wife, Cindy, and I kind of made a decision with tears and hugs and prayers and decided DAWG Nation at the time had given away about $1 million, and whether we were going to just say that was really cool. That was a cool part of my life, and finish out a career at Oracle, and it was a pretty lucrative career. So it would have been pretty set, or tap out of that and try and change the world. And that's what we did.
Yes. Oh, I love it. That's so awesome. Good for you.
I still have, I upped to fill in some of the revenue or income gap there. I did up my client base to about 300 or so, and I kind of keep it at that on the tax side, and allows us to kind of do what we want to do.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I am so excited to learn about you and share the story of the DAWG Nation Hockey Foundation. It's fantastic. Yeah. So how else should folks get in touch with you? They can follow you on Facebook. So the full DAWG Nation Hockey Foundation, and then say the website one more time.
It's dawgnation.org, DAWG.
Perfect. All right. Well, everybody get in touch and, follow DAWG Nation and get involved. And thank you so much, Marty, for spending time with me today.
You're welcome. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpwestdenver.com. That's gnpwestdenver.com, or call 720-295-9588.